Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Hearthstone. So, we need to get 5 victories with a paladin or warrior in this recording. And if we can get that done quickly, ideally I can get the 4 shaman cards I need to play done and maybe even make some progress on the hunter and mage. But it certainly seems like we're going to go into at least 3 if not 4 recordings on top of already having the first recording be very long at an hour and 8 minutes. Paladin or warrior, that's who we gotta choose between. So this is a priest, and so this is a druid. So you have warrior or paladin. Let's play my Murloc deck and see if we can get victories that way. Okay. Nobody in the chat yet. It's been an hour and a half. I'm not sure really where to go with the chat, honestly. I would kind of like more of a conversation back and forth, particularly on days when I don't have a lot of news. Today, I'm not suffering from that problem. I have more than enough news to talk about, but a more back and forth communication seems to be what the audience likes. It seems to be what YouTube likes. It seems to work well for all parties involved. And so I would like that. I'd also like to get over 1,000 subscribers so I could have super chat enabled, because unlike a lot of channels that have thousands and thousands of subscribers and they get super chat enabled and they're getting lots and lots of donations there, even one donation to me would be amazingly helpful. Even like a $1, $2 donation would be helpful. And YouTube has screwed channels like mine out of an opportunity to get donations because they're getting rid of the support this channel button, they say, and it's probably going to be gone pretty soon here. And they've already gotten rid of the info cards button that's somewhere around here. There used to be an option on that to donate to the channel, and it said support this channel. You click a button, you bring up the information and the website to make donations. They just sneakily took that away and never announced that they were doing that. And you can have the info card donate to a charity that's been approved, but you can't have it donate to yourself. And in all reality, I should be on Patreon. Everybody should be on Patreon. It's just, frankly, my channel's not big enough, and I'm consistently doing this, and I think it's the right move, is to make an effort to have a channel that's successful before I turn into a channel that is just also shilling completely. I mean, I shill myself. I promote myself, definitely, a little bit, not too much. But I don't want my ending at the end of my recordings are already too long, and I don't want to get it longer, and I don't want to put it at the front, and I don't want to be consistently pushing it. Nothing's more annoying when I watch something like Craner, where Craner's a Minecraft YouTuber, and his first 2 minutes of every single video is just nothing but garbage. Telling people to like, to subscribe, to click the bell next to the subscribe button, all things that you want your viewers to do, but all it really makes is all the people who have subscribed to just skip the first couple of minutes and get into the actual content. That's why I try and fail very hard to start all of my videos quickly, when I'm starting a series, I usually talk about the settings and such, and so that is an issue in itself that that I can't really get around. There we go.
You have been.
But I want to just do a general intro. Like, that's what I try to do. I try to just say, hey everybody, this is Rydo. We're back to Hearthstone. Let's get into it. Here's what we're doing today, and let's go. I don't want to do anything more than that. I introduce who I am, I introduce what I'm doing, and that's it. I introduce the game I'm playing and what I'm doing in that game. Moving on with the news is Yoko Taro, whose last project was Nier Automata. What that means as far as his last project being Nier Automata is slightly confusing. I assume he was the director, producer of it, but they wrote it down as last project, so I assume he was a big person on the project and not just, say, a artist on the project or something. He's important enough, at least in the Japanese video game websites, to mention by name, so that says something. But he's making a cell phone game called Sin O Alice, S-I-N capital S capital lowercase. No, it's a bunch of capitals actually. I think it's S capitalized lowercase I, N capitalized lowercase O, A capitalized lowercase L, I capitalized, and just back and forth mixed caps. It's a cell phone game. It looks pretty good. It may be only Japanese only, but it does have English on this website, so there's probably at least a little bit of interest there in bringing it about. I probably should have killed that. Yeah, I'm trying to win here. It's weird, certainly, though, that the Nier Automata is become this real sleeper hit that really wasn't expected to do well in the West at all, I would guess, if I was just a venture guess. And it's frankly turned out to be very popular and good, because I'd love to see more games like that in the West, properly translated and running well, and it's running on PC moderately well. It still needs some work and some patching, and so hopefully it'll get more support. But it's weird that he goes from a PS4 PC game to a cell phone game. That just seems like an odd turn of events. Let's just go ahead and do this. But whatever. I mean, maybe he's going to make a cell phone game for a very short time, and then he'll just be on to the next thing. So a soccer player / footballer, to everybody except for the United States people, Diego Maradona, has stated he plans to take legal action over the Pro Evolution 17 2017 likeness use of him. So he's gonna sue Konami, basically, because Konami, which has before this point been pretty careful about using fake teams and fake players in their game. At least that's what the article said. Decided just to use this guy's likeness without his permission, and so he plans on taking action against him. I don't know how Konami is going to get out of that one, unless there's like some legal reason that they did have the rights to his likeness, or perhaps they can argue that it really isn't his likeness that he sees there, but I don't think they're gonna win on either one of those. So I don't know what Konami is doing there, other than just being Konami, which is weird. So what's interesting is previously I had a story where BioWare said they're working very hard to fix the many problems of that are in Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, in a slight counterbalance to that, or perhaps a similar story, Ubisoft is trying to fix the many problems with For Honor. Basically, at the end of the day, it comes down to they're going to be more generous with the amount of steel you win in games ahead of an April 3rd and then ongoing boycott of the game. So somebody on Reddit, or at least one person, if not a whole group, I saw this Reddit post, so it was getting upvoted at the very least. They were specifically promoting the idea that on April 3rd nobody was going to play at all of For Honor, because they don't feel like Ubisoft is really listening to them, and this is probably in direct reaction to Ubisoft saying, well, we never really expected you to buy all $700 plus of DLC add-on costumes. And frankly, for the amount that they were increasing on steel, which was only about 50% to 25%, I don't even know if it got up to 50%, actually. They still are really not throwing a major bone to the players. They're still very much ripping off the players. And so, even though they're more generous, I still think everybody who was planning on boycotting it on April 3rd going forward should boycott it now and never buy the game and never play it again and ask for refunds. That game is not going to get better. If there was a complete addition to the game that they gave everybody, that gave you all the DLC on it, the game's still not going to get better. It isn't. If anything, it probably would get a little worse, because then you would have, if you had all the DLC, you'd have no reason to play, and you'd realize that there's no reason to play. That if the single player went free to play, or the multiplayer went free to play, and the single player cost like $5, I still don't think you fixed the problem. So yeah, I'm about to lose. So yeah, I don't see how you fix For Honor. You've got to probably take that technology and just make a new game from it. A new game with a better story, with a better idea, not shoving multiplayer into it in an awkward way, because that game really is a single player thing. Honestly, I don't think you want to do that anyways, because I feel like the real truth is that that gameplay mechanic and that engine probably aren't worth anything, so you probably just need to wash your hands clean of it, and that's probably what they're doing. They're trying to make as much money as they can and just avoid the rage of the internet. And Ubisoft is very difficult for them to avoid the rage of the internet when you have Jim Sterling having a special segment dedicated around Ubisoft doing stupid things. So, like, I don't know what you can really do there. In comparison, I think a lot of it is just that Ubisoft is this big giant corporation and they just keep screwing up. If they were a small independent corporation, people wouldn't talk about it. It wouldn't be newsworthy. And I can almost guarantee that's the truth, because my very next story is that the Secret World is going to relaunch as a free-to-play game called The Secret World Legends. And I have this written down as news, and I'm debating as an idea, should I talk about games being announced as news? And I think they are news, but only the very first announcement and maybe an announcement date are the only part of that I want to call actual news. Not if they have announced a date in which they're going to make an announcement to make an announcement, basically. Not if they say the game is going to be on PC now that they've already said it was going to be on Xbox and PlayStation 4. Not that if they release a trailer. Not if they say the game is going to have multiplayer. None of the functions, I think, are really news. But there is an inherent need, I think, for knowledge to know a game is coming at all. Like, if they announced Borderlands 3 was coming out in a year, I feel like I would want to know that. Would I care if they said Borderlands 3 is coming out in a year and it's coming out on PlayStation and Switch and Xbox One? No, because I was going to play it on PC anyways, but I would care if it said it was coming out on PC. Would I care if they said it was going to be able to play 4K? Actually kind of would like to know this information, but inherently that's what they do to you. They make a new press release with small bits of information you would like to know, but then they keep it in your brain and make you think about this Borderlands 3 in this example over and over again. So they're getting this free advertising in the form of news every time they put out not news stories. And at a certain point, I feel like I need to put my foot down and just say, this game, it's just not worth talking about. But that being said, it helps fill up my board and on slow days. So how do you do that? Greetings?
Happy New Year, champion.
I guess that's what you do. I guess what I'll do is I'll just open the pages that just have announcements, and I'll keep them to the bottom of my list. And so when I'm looking at a tab in Chrome of a news thing, because I just leave all these tabs open until I decide to start writing it down, my next plan would be to just skip things. And that's kind of what I've been doing, is some articles I'll skip over and then look at my board and say, like, I've got everything written here. Similarly, Total War Warhammer 2 has been announced. That's the same. Is this news? I guess it is. I guess it is news. Some people would want to know that. Not particularly me, since I've not played Warhammer 1 or any Total War game at all. Moving on, Twitch introduces 1080p 60 frames per second upload, and they have either removed or increased the 3.5 megabits limit as far as upload speeds, which, frankly, I didn't know either one of those limits existed. I would have sworn that Twitch was always allowing you to stream at 1080p 60, and it was just that people didn't have very good internet to stream at that, and much higher than 3.5 megabits. Like, when I record, and when I don't know what I'm streaming at per se, it's probably not very good. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 500 kilobits per second, honestly, but ideally I would hope that I could get as much as my internet provider would let me up to this. Like, I say my upload speed is 5 megabits per second, so in theory I could be uploading at 5 megabits per second. When I record videos, I record up to like 10, if not 15 megabits per second. It's very high bit rate because I want the video to look very good, and having a high bit rate looks better even if YouTube is taking those videos and just doing whatever it may do to them. I might as well give it the largest amount of help I can give it to start off with. So if YouTube takes my 10 megabits videos and turns them down into 3 megabit videos, it will still look better than me recording 3 megabit videos and giving it to YouTube for them to re-encode it. And I got up to that high bit rate using the Taos principle as a test. And most games, particularly Hearthstone, don't need that bit rate at all. Not one bit. I'm gonna take a sip of water here. Two victories, we only need 3 more. And some more stuff. Like Hearthstone videos, I could look at it probably and get the bit rate. And I bet it's not very high, because when you look at something like this, besides the mouse cursor, the only thing moving on screen is this, and the Hearthstone deck tracker just moved a little bit. Everything else on the screen isn't changing for many seconds. So the bit rate's not very high because it doesn't have to redraw the same things over and over again. It can just say it's the same as it was before, so leave it alone, and it just works that way. That's one of the problems is I've been investigating trying to run a e-ink screen on Arduino software, or possibly something stronger and faster than an Arduino software. It takes 0.7 seconds to refresh an entire e-ink screen, or something about that, which is ridiculously low. So instead of 60 frames per second, you're talking 1 and less than a half frames per second on an e-ink screen. So really low. But I was
Job's done.
but on an Arduino with that software, I don't know if you could overdrive the screen to make it any faster. And frankly, the screens themselves have some circuitry in them that tells me you probably can't force the screen any faster anyways. But if I go any further in that conversation, I'll start talking about the speed of a shift register and how high you could potentially overdrive that, and I'm not sure it's that much. And I'm sure none of that makes sense to most people, but basically, if I can explain it really quickly, the chips inside of the screen can only reliably be run at a certain speed, and that certain speed's really slow. Moving on, the creator of Radiator 2 has put on Steam Greenlight Radiator 3 Rinse and Repeat, which is gay males showering together simulator. And Radiator 2, and as far as what I can tell from the preview of Radiator 3, is gay male sex exploitation. It is acting under the pretense and guise that it's trying to promote positive views of the gay male homosexual lifestyle, while in fact promoting it as the exact actually promoting negative ideas that all gay men are extremely sexual and some extremely promiscuous, and that they just go in the showers and start scrubbing each other's back, and it's kind of the problem with the gay pride parades too, is that some of those people, the people that go to the parades, are willing to be promiscuous and provocative during those parades. But there's plenty of other homosexuals that would never go to a gay pride parade because they're embarrassing and unrefined and uncouth. And there's really nothing in Radiator 2 to save it as a game. It claims it's making a social commentary, but really it's just exploitative. If you put it the opposite way, and you tried to put a game up on Steam that was just two lesbians in the shower, scrubbing each other's backs and groping them after just meeting the people, people who might not have seen the issue, I think, would start to see the issue a little bit better. And just when you look at it from the opposite, I think it becomes pretty obvious it's an exploitation. It's trying to sensualize something. The big difference is, if Radiator 3 was a romance story where you got to know the guy and there was a scene in it, but just a scene, not the main focus, in which you got in the shower with him, and it wasn't a public shower with a random person with other guys just in the background, and you scrubbed somebody you actually knew and actually had relationships with, and there was some reason towards that, and it was a realistic thing that might happen. That's one thing. And if you're trying to normalize it, so it doesn't feel so weird to people who haven't seen something like that, that's fine. But what he's trying to normalize in the games is something you would only see in a sex club, and you're never gonna normalize what happens in sex clubs, whether they're straight or gay sex clubs. And that's silly. That shouldn't be normalized. I don't even think the people in the sex club would be too happy if it was normalized, because they get bored with it. So I hope he doesn't get voted for. This guy is not being honest, and he's right. He's putting poop on a piece of art and calling it art. He's putting poop on a piece of canvas and calling it art is a lot what he's doing. And that's not the kind of attitude nor mentality that I want in my artists.
Reporting for duty.
Let's see. Almost done here. The DayZ creator has announced a new game he's working on called Stationeers, but the quote here is, "I've tried to make this game 3 times and I've spent millions on it." This is the direct quote from the DayZ creator. And I'm not thinking to myself, wait a minute, you've tried 3 times to make this game and you've spent millions on it, which I assume he means millions of dollars. You've wasted millions of dollars on a game that hasn't succeeded 3 times previous, and you just keep on doing it, move on, man. Move on quickly. So from that right there, I immediately have to say don't buy Stationeers. It's not going to be a good game. Whoever was giving him the millions of dollars of fundings obviously didn't feel it was good enough again to give him more millions of dollars of fundings to finish the game. And whatever else stopped him the 3 previous times from making the game were obviously good ideas. Probably the right idea. The video game industry is full of video game pitches. If you pitch a game once and it doesn't work, you should have 20 other pitches already lined up to go for until somebody funds it, until somebody says this is a good idea, I want to work with you. The fact that you just keep coming back to the same thing over and over again after 3 times and millions of either hours or dollars or something, he doesn't say what, like, if it's dollars, that I'd be surprised that the DayZ creator even had millions of dollars to spend on it. But who knows? But yeah, I cannot say that is a good statement for the going. And what is weird here is we are done with this recording, and I'm only halfway through the news. I've took too long at the beginning, and we're kind of halfway through the victories. I guess we'll go that mage next time. Stay tuned if you're watching this live. Otherwise, as always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.